Tap. 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 No other sounds could be heard from the Hokage's office but Tsunade's slow, deliberate taps. The office was full, her ANBU detail hidden in the shadows, Jiraiya standing at her side, Shibi Aburame and Shikaku Nara standing behind their sons. And, most importantly, the three vexing brats, two standing at attention, the last in clear defiance. A part of her wanted to wring their little necks, strutting into her office and abducting an asset and then disappearing the body. The Hyuga and Inuzuka ANBU present at the scene hadn't reported any sign of Kabuto. It was an excellent display of tradecraft. The ninja in her was impressed. But they completely undermined a future operation, one of unknown significance. Maybe she should point them eastward and send them on a campaign of conquest, mandating none of them could see their respective girlfriends until Kumo fell. That would be adequate retaliation. She fought back a smirk, reasoning it'd probably take them a month. Then she observed the Nara, noticing he seemed twitchy for a Nara and recalled the last time Temari had been within the village. The Godame knocked her estimate down to 2 weeks. Jiraiya called out, likely afraid that her silence was just the build-up to an epic tantrum. How do you three want to play this? Sure, you covered your tracks so there is no evidence, but last I checked, I'm not military police and don't require any. Or, better yet, the lack of evidence is surely evidence in itself. So, you want to play the denial game or you want to cut the shit and confess? Tsunade asked. Before they answer, Tsunade-sama, we feel we must point out that Kabuto Yakushi had made an attempt on their lives once before, Shikaku started. I'm aware, Tsunade responded. The Sandame saw fit not to take official action against him, she finished in disgust. Yes, he refused official action but never forbade the inflicted clans from seeking retribution. As I am sure you are aware, should a Konoha ninja ever attempt to target a clan ninja, the clans are empowered to seek retribution proportional to the offense. If this clause is to be ignored, it must be done by official decree and due compensation must be given to the targeted parties and their respective clans, Shibi explained. Furthermore, Shikaku picked up. The Sandame's refusal to punish Kabuto and his decision to hide the traitor's actions could be taken as another attempt by the Sandame to interfere in the internal workings of the Uzumaki clan as Naruto was the primary target. The Sandame may have wanted Kabuto to try again, hoping for success so he'd have much weaker and potentially more pliable members to manipulate. So, your argument is whether or not they did it, they had the right to do it because Sensei didn't fill out the proper paperwork? Jiraiya asked in mild disbelief. Yes, Shibi answered. His response was met with a sigh from the blonde Hokage. She should have known, with both clan heads being in the tower before their sons had even arrived, that the boys had figured some way out trouble should they be brought in. It was a deft use of politics, and if she ignored their arguments it'd cause a strain between her and two parties she couldn't afford to alienate. As Sensei hadn't notified you of Kabuto's actions nor taken the proper steps to forestall any retaliatory efforts. I have no choice but to close this matter, but please be aware of my great displeasure. Maybe you had a right to do what you did, but it doesn't make it right. I hope we can live with the consequences of your actions. Everyone, save Jiraiya and Naruto, is dismissed. The Nara and the Aburame vacated, both Shika and Shino giving Naruto's shoulders a friendly squeeze before they left. He was alone now. I'm mad at your teammates, but I am deeply disappointed in you. Tsunade said and had to ignore the twinge of pain she felt when Naruto's face seemed genuinely hurt by her words for the briefest of moments. Before you say anything, I know Kabuto tried to kill your team. I know he was likely going to try again and maybe it is unfair, I expected you to just accept he still had a use, but he did. He was our best chance to get Zetsu, and you took him off the table entirely. Not only that, but you should have trusted that I wouldn't let any harm come to you. You couldn't promise that, Naruto argued. You had no idea how he'd try, what he'd do, and when he'd spring his trap. Him out of the village was one thing, but this place is either my home or it isn't. The old man couldn't seem to decide or just didn't give a shit to. I thought you'd be different. What is that supposed to mean? Tsunade asked as he was now returned to be hurt. I know what it is to go to sleep surrounded by enemies, to only have a degree of safety because someone I couldn't trust was holding the leash on people who'd see me harmed if they could. I can't allow that now, and certainly not someone that close to Orochi. Tsunade's eyes lit up in realization. It wasn't just revenge or fear for himself. I get it, Naruto, she said with a soft smile, I do. But you could have cleared it with me, instead of trying to get away with it. I believe you'll sit in this chair one day, but when you do, I want you to make being Hokage admirable again. Sensei's last year's tarnished things, and I'm widely seen as a placeholder. I don't mind, it's more or less true. But if you want to be like the Hokage of old, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. Naruto nodded and Tsunade dismissed him. Once he walked out the door, Tsunade made an exaggerated groan. There are several things to dislike about this job, but the hypocrisy may be the thing I hate the most, Tsunade complained as Jiraiya took a seat in front of her. Jiraiya laughed in response. Yeah, if it had been you, we'd be picking up pieces of Kabuto from across the village, Jiraiya said, acknowledging her legendary temper. But you made a good point about Naruto holding himself to a higher standard, so it isn't outright hypocrisy, and I think he loves his surrogate aunt enough that any adolescent surliness was stamped down. My concern is what are we going to do for the next several months? Minato went AWOL to save Kushina, and she wasn't pregnant at the time. Oh, he told you? Tsunade asked, not really surprised that Jiraiya knew, but became so when he shook his head no. I'm not a perfect sage, but I can sense everything the kid can, and Orochi's little bun wasn't hard to pick up. I'm sure Sensei doesn't know yet, but you need to let me know when he does. You can't protect him from himself, Jiraiya, nor should you be expected to. It isn't so much about protecting him as preventing the most harm I can. Prevention is better than treatment, but Sensei doesn't want to let this go. Unfortunately, whatever my fondness for him is, Orochi and Naruto are the more valuable assets. If I have to fix the problems he creates, you need to understand what my solution will be. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade in shock. You'd kill Sensei? He asked. His obsession with Orochi has put this village at risk, Jiraiya, multiple times. He allowed Nagato to attack within the village's walls. He let a double agent act freely within the village. He could have caused Naruto to, if we were lucky, go missing ninja, and if we weren't lucky. I don't want to think about the results. And if I hadn't left that loophole open, who knows what Team Kurenai would have done to get at Kabuto, consequences be damned. Wait, you knew they were going to try something? No, but of course I suspected they might. What kind of ninja would just accept someone trying to kill them and got away with it? It wasn't just an assassination attempt, extracting a bija can't possibly be a painless nor fast process. As soon as I knew Kabuto turned, I could have bought off the 3 clans. This was a contingency, one I hoped I wouldn't need, but here we are. You're more devious than people give you credit for. I'm a lady of many faces. Oh, really? You should feel free to show me your face anytime. Jiraiya didn't even mind the punch that followed as he noticed a slight pink to Tsunade's cheeks. No, it was totally worth it. Shikamaru thought once he left the Hokage's office he'd dealt with the only irate woman he'd have to for the day. His mother standing before him, hands on hips and fiercest glare on display told him as much. He couldn't even find her troublesome as he was much more annoyed that his father turned snitch and continued to let that woman run him. Well? Yoshino asked. Well, what? Shikamaru returned and received a slap on the head. Ow, he muttered. Don't get a smart mouth with me, Shikamaru Nara, and don't pretend to not know what I'm asking. Troublesome, whatever may have happened and whatever role I may or may not have played in it was necessary. Do better, commanded his father. When the panther cub came to him and explained what he'd need to do, Shikaku was genuinely confused. That he'd seemingly lost time did nothing to aid in that. I defended you to Tsunade-sama, so we deserve the truth. And you did a job on our clan grounds. Yoshino reminded her husband. Yeah, and that. That was reckless, son, Shikaku observed, hiding his surprise when his son seemed to get offended. Was it? You find any bodies lying about? Shika asked, only to receive another slap. Ow, damn it. Ow. Don't curse at me. Shikaku, this is your fault, you were too lenient on him and now he's on the wrong path. Yoshino, please calm down and let Shikamaru explain. Seeing this as his opening, and an implicit order to do just that, Shikamaru explained, the actions we took today could have prevented a catastrophe from occurring later. It also prevented Shino and me from having to make some hard choices. This was for the best. Neither parent missed that Shika said only Shino and he would have the choices, but neither wanted to push much further. While the events of the day didn't inspire a lot of confidence, they knew their son to be an intelligent and practical person, generally. If this allowed them to avoid future peril, then it would, ultimately, be worth it. Yoshino, satisfied with her reaming, headed toward the kitchen. Believing she was out of earshot, Shikaku brought up the 3 boys' stated willingness to face the ANBU sent to detain them. Yoshino, however, had not been outside of listening distance and became incensed once more. Naruto entered his home with a sigh. His exchange with Tsunade hadn't eased his mental strain. Nothing would short of a nap, but he had to press forward. As he kicked off his sandals, he saw a pair that belonged to his betrothed. He didn't miss that she was absent from the Hokage's office. That could be for several reasons, and his taxed mind didn't have it to churn through. Being direct was the best option, even if she should be mad he killed Kabuto. Naruto exited the foyer, walking through the manor and found her in the kitchen, eating cake out of a teal pastry box at the counter. "Hey, Orochi-chan, what you got there?" he asked. She favored him with a smile as she turned on her stool. "Cake. Specifically, the flavor of our wedding cake," she said. "I missed the tasting?" he asked, disappointed that he knew the answer before she replied. "Damn, I wanted to be there for that." "Kukuku, it's fine, Koharu, and I came to a decision, and I am quite pleased. Besides, you were busy." "Yeah. About that, anything you'd like to discuss?" "You can call down storms and cast village-wide genjutsu. I'm dismayed at how much you held back, and as soon as I'm no longer pregnant I'm getting a proper rematch," Orochi informed him. Naruto smiled, retrieving a fork. "Sure, whatever you want," he said as he sat beside her and attempted to sink his utensil into the cake. It passed through the baked good as if it never existed. Naruto squinted at Orochi. "This isn't really big enough to share." "I'm sure you understand," she said with a devious smile. "Shouldn't I know what kind of cake is being served on my special day?" Naruto asked. "You could have. You decided to carry out an assassination with your friends. Did you even send out the invitations, as you were supposed to?" Orochi asked, touching his cheek, a sign she'd ended Kamui. "Gasp, milady. I had my cubs out informing all of our upcoming nuptials," Naruto answered, again attempting to take a piece of her cake slice, the result being the same as the initial try. "And you're fitting?" she inquired before taking a bite. "Taken care of, Shino's guy is efficient," he said, once again trying to sneak a piece, only for Orochi to turn away from him. "Dear, we're supposed to share in all things, you know." "Don't wanna, get your own," Orochi said as she migrated to the table. "Fine, what's the flavor so I can get it?" he asked. "Not telling, besides this was made special for the tasting, so there isn't any more." "And you won't share?" "No one can accuse you of being slow on the uptake, Naruto-kun." The Uzumaki smiled at her barb. "I'll just have to take it then," he said as he blurred behind her, speedily reaching for his prize only to meet with the table. "Kukuku, nice try," Orochi said as she seemingly phased through the windows out to the back of the compound. Undaunted, Naruto flashed to the shiki engraved on her engagement ring as soon as she ended the jutsu, swiping his prize. Preparing to gloat, the words died as he watched Orochi extended her tongue to get the last of the cake. "Body modifications are cheating," he said, pointing at Orochi. She pointed to herself as she said, "Ninja," and nothing else. Naruto laughed but refused to concede the point. As he got his laughter under control, he ran a hand through his hair. He didn't want to sour the mood, but avoidance had never been his thing. "Orochi-chan, do we need to talk about Kabuto?" "What is there to talk about?" she asked, speaking again before Naruto could answer. "Kabuto was talented. I nurtured his talent because I saw he could be of use. I even started to like him. But Kabuto had two fatal flaws: he lacked the strength to be himself outside of my influence and he froze me in his mind. I don't like stagnation, not in the world and not in myself. He couldn't handle my recent changes and crossed a line he couldn't come back from." "And my hand in his removal?" Naruto inquired. "As I assume you were motivated by my current state and I made that happen, it'd be silly to be upset with you. Hey, I was pretty crucial in making that happen, too, Tibeo." "Of course, sweetie, you're my big, strong man," Orochi said sarcastically and was confused when Naruto beamed with pride. "I know you're making fun of me, but I am your big, strong man, so ha. Joke's on you." Laying the cake box down, Orochi glided toward Naruto and wrapped her arms around his waist when she arrived. Smiling, she looked up to her intended and leaned in. Naruto copied her without much thought. He did not receive the kiss he'd expected. When he committed to leaning forward, Orochi turned her hips into him and tossed him to the ground, landing in a full mount as she looked down. "Kukuku, you were saying?" Orochi teased. "This doesn't count," Naruto protested, Orochi adopting a look of disbelief as her response. Naruto rolled his eyes as he tried to sit up. Orochi had other ideas as she forced him back down. No, Naruto-kun. I like you like this, Orochi said, savoring the thrill of having the strongest shinobi in the world beneath her and at her mercy. She smiled softly as she leaned down, giving an uncharacteristically chaste kiss to her future husband. As she was going to kiss him again, her senses alerted her they were not alone, but she did not tense nor give away she was aware. Bagheera's father and I used to ride under the midday sun, too, the voice said as she emerged from the shadow in front of Orochi. The snake Sannin was mildly confused when Naruto buried his head in her stomach. Don't be embarrassed, Naruto-chan, passion is important in a relationship even if you've already seated her, the figure continued now fully visible. The humanoid panther, wearing a gold and white cloak, sat before the duo with a smirk. Naruto had informed her his summons could choose to look like regular jungle cats or transform, most simply went with their preference. Hi, Granny, Naruto said though it was muffled as he was still hiding his face. Such a lackluster greeting from my favorite summoner. What have I done, what sin have I committed to be treated with such discourtesy? With little effort Naruto was on his feet, Orochi in tow. Him gently putting her down so he could look at the grand elder of the Panthers. Sorry, Granny. It is, of course, lovely to see you today. What brings you by? See, that's much better. You've come such a long way since you were that confused, little cub. Couldn't even throw a proper punch and now look at you, starting a family. I'm so proud, Naruto-chan, Bast said. Not enough to stop calling me Naruto-chan, though, and I've noticed you haven't told me why you've graced us with your presence. Oh, it's no big deal. The girls and I paid a visit to the monkeys. I know that Hiruzen has given you both some trouble in the past, so I requested Enma keep his summoner in line, Bast explained. Requested? Naruto said with a really bad feeling in his stomach. Even if I had a knife to his throat, I still phrased it as a question, so I think it counts. Granny, really? Yes. You know this is partially your fault. Okoye says you don't give them enough to do, so they were ready for some action. Don't worry, we didn't kill any of the shit flingers, Bast answered. Naruto, nearing his wit's end, just wanted this to be over. Orochi found humor in the situation. Kukuku, you threatened King Enma? I like you, Bast-sama, Orochi said. Bast waved her off. None of that Sama stuff. We're basically family now, which reminds me you two have a ritual to complete before your wedding day. Panther tradition, Bast explained, looking down at her nails. What? Granny, I told you personally I was getting married and you didn't mention any kind of ritual. Well, I forgot. I'm old, I forget things. I don't believe you, Tibeo. Naruto exclaimed. And Naruto meant that literally. He knew she had a mind like a steel trap. A summoning clan big on vendettas would not be forgetful. Shush, Cubby, I forgot and now I've remembered. Don't worry, Naruto-chan, it isn't as involved as when you met your father. Just a simple bonding ceremony. Granny, I can't just accept that unilaterally, I needed to know so I could talk to Orochi about it, Naruto said but felt like he was talking to a brick wall. It's fine, Naruto-kun. We can do the ritual the day before. Does that sound fair? Orochi offered. Bast nodded in approval. You got a real keeper here, Naruto-chan, Bast said, and Naruto beamed. Yeah, I think so, too. An alert sounded, signaling someone was at the front door. Naruto didn't have to guess and wasn't surprised when he arrived to see Hiruzen there. He was, mildly, surprised to see Enma, Konohamaru, and the fresh from a beard waxing Asuma with him. We need to talk, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said grimly, and Naruto rolled his eyes. The Uzumaki head waved them in as he cursed Bast for making it necessary. It had been 3 weeks since Daruri's return. When he left IWA, his mind was awash in ideas on how to proceed. A part of him wanted to travel to Konoha, somehow convince Karabi to stand up to I and get the leaf to back the transition. Darui quickly rejected the plan. Karabi would not unseat his brother until evidence of Ice incompetence revealed itself in hundreds or thousands of dead ninja. The Jinchuriki was simply too loyal to his brother to be preemptive. Another plan Darui considered was telling I what Inoki was trying. Darui had no doubt Inoki would betray him just as easily as he was willing to leave I without an ally in the first place. Darui knew Inoki had to subcontract to the Akatsuki because I refused to demilitarize and may hold some resentment for it. The former student of EI also declined that option. I would either add IWA to the list if he believed Darui or turn on the messenger as there was no trust between the two men. He thought about what he could do and eventually settled on a course of action. That decision was why he was being ushered into the Raikage's office by a team of ANBU. If he'd made a mistake, this meeting was to be the death of him, but he'd rather risk it all than sit passively as I single-handedly ruined the hidden village. When he entered the office, he saw a tumbler on ice desk, a quarter full of a brown liquid. Of course, the shinobi thought. It was rare to not see eye deep into a bottle. He felt bad for Mabui, as she had to absorb most of ice abuse. The ANBU scattered when the door closed behind Darui. He was alone with I, the muscled man looking furious behind his glassy eyes. I thought if you were going to attempt to depose me you'd come at me straight up. Instead, you write notes like a little girl, I barked, slamming down a copy of Darui's work. In the booklet, all of I's faults and failures were detailed. Even the Hyuga incident. Darui argued that I had brought them to the precipice of war and done so for his own ego. He asked any who would read his words to consider if they'd be willing and proud to die for that. Not for Kumo, but for an arrogant manchild that wanted to upend everything to feel better about himself. Darui closed his work with a simple belief, as goes the Kage goes the village. If the Kage is powerful, honorable, and admirable the village would be. If the Kage were vain, brutish and vapid, so would the ninja. The copies, freely distributed, caused a stir. If I had been on his game, he would have repressed the works immediately, but he was slow to act, a signal to all senior ninja that Darui had a point. Well, do you have anything to say? I yelled. You made this necessary. Your pride, your arrogance has led us astray, and now we risk war with two major villages without any significant allies, nor our two Jinchuriki. You need to step down, I ripped through his desk and clotheslined Darui, the younger man unprepared for the blitz. The speed and power of the move sent both men through the office door and wall, Mabui shouting in shock. I didn't stop his charge until Darui's back met another wall. As he backed off, he looked at the once trusted shinobi in disdain. If you want to replace me, boy, you're going to have to do better than he attempted to boast but was speared by Darui. Not mirroring I's mistake, as soon as he secured the takedown, Darui started punching I in the face with controlled aggression. He landed 3 clean blows before I could begin to defend himself. The Raikage grabbed both of Darui's arms and then, in a feat of raw strength, flung the younger man off him. Enraged as he returned to his feet, I closes the distance and traps Darui in a bear hug, finishing with a belly-to-belly suplex. Not hearing the satisfying crunch of broken ribs, I was instead splashed with water. The realization he grabbed a clone coming too slow as he struck with a flying knee. The impact was enough to lift the Raikage off the ground and Darui had no intention of letting up. Darui clasped I's arm and pulled him closer, hitting him flush in the jaw. The attack continued as fist, feet, and knees assaulted the drunken village leader. However, Darui had become too predictable in his assault and I launched his counter. Slapping both his ears, I left Darui stunned. The yondaime palmed Darui's skull and slammed him down on the ground with enough force to fracture the floor. He did it twice more, before lifting the man up and throwing him out the window. I wanted the entire village to see the fall of the usurper. He peered down at his former second-in-command with disappointment. Defeating him wouldn't be enough, he needed to break him and any future thought of resistance. I with but a thought activated his lightning armor, the symbol of Kumo's might, and appeared beside his downed opponent. A kick to the ribs started his renewed assault. Light, though. Not enough to fully crack Darui's ribs, but enough to fling him across several roofs. I let Darui attempt to get to his feet. When the man was nearly there, he got lifted with a knee, the force almost enough to cause whiplash. Before Darui could be carried away from the impact he was grabbed, midair, and pulled into a punch to the abdomen. The Raikage let the younger man fall, watching as he coughed up blood. By now, much of the village had taken to the streets to see the fight. None were more surprised than Samui, Kamui, and Omoi, the students of Karabi. Like most of the village's ninja, they'd read Darui's treatise. Omoi had wondered if he'd lead to a coup, but both his teammates dismissed it. Now, they fear the man had been right and the instability caused by a successful or failed overthrow would cause Karabi's and Yujito's return to be further delayed. But like everyone else, they could only watch as if they were stuck to the ground. I was getting bored with batting Darui around, with his lightning armor active. The traitor posed no threat. He was bloodied but not yet broken. I walked toward his victim, knowing exactly how he wanted to end this. He lifted Darui up, preparing for a Liger bomb when the inexplicable happened. That sense of invincibility left him. His strength decreased. His lightning armor deactivated. He had no time to ponder why to understand what was happening to his chakra system as Darui ruthlessly gouged him. On instinct I dropped Darui, raising his hands to cover his eyes. He was blinded and in blinding pain. Darui took advantage of the distraction, performing his first ninjutsu of the fight. All witnessed as the famed lightning style, Black Panther's was unleashed on a near-defenseless eye. The Raikage let out a primal scream as the right ton entered his system, leaving smoke behind as it ended. You're so arrogant you haven't even wondered why no ANBU, no Jounin has stepped in to stop this, Darui said, and he was right. I hadn't considered why his elite ninja hadn't detained his opponent. We can all see it. See how your war ends. We have no allies, we have no Jinchuriki, and this war has no point. I tried to show you, but your dull ass wouldn't listen. I stopped, still in great pain. Don't have to dash ice declaration. He didn't have to listen, stopped by Darui delivering his killing blow. The storm style, laser circus beams pierced each of Ice's major organs and his brain. Darui knew there could be no doubt, no chance of Ice's survival. He turned to the assembled masses, attempting to appear stronger than he currently felt. Times would be tough, but they needed to know, ultimately, they would be alright. Ice war likely cannot be avoided. In his attempt to ambush Konoha, we lost 100 senior ninja and look weak in the eyes of the other villages. This is no longer a war of conquest, but one to save face, to show all that Kumo is more than one man's ambition. That we are strong. That we are enduring. That we are the storm. Darui shouted. The crowd cheered. When it petered out, Darui continued. I cannot promise you times will be easy, they will not. But every decision I make will be for the betterment of Kumo. We will get through these dark times. We will get our guardians back and we will come out of this stronger than ever before. Kumo's best days are ahead of us, not behind us. As your Godame, that is my vow to each of you. As the crowds chanted his name, Darui walked toward the recently arrived Shur, leaning on his friend for support. I'm glad your chakra suppression poison worked. It would have been dull otherwise. You'd be dead, Shur observed. What sounds duller than death? Darui asked. I don't know, but we are in for interesting times. You ready? I have no choice but to be, was Darui's answer. Strongest shinobi since the Shodai, Shikamaru observed, without prompt, Shino nodding in agreement. Single-handedly revolutionizing chakra manipulation, the Nara continued. Excellent swordsman and taijutsu practitioner, too, Shino added, to really rub salt in the wound. All this hard work, just to punch an old man in the face? Shikamaru asked, causing Naruto's eye to twitch. Elder abuse is frowned upon, Naruto, said Shino, causing Naruto to finally respond. I hate you both so very much, the Uzumaki said, head under a depression cloud. He didn't want to be here, at the Chunin Stadium. He certainly didn't want to be here to spar the old man, but apparently, when summons have conflict, their summoners are expected to settle matters. Naruto didn't personally feel there was much to settle. Bast does as she pleases, no one was going to stop her unless they had the power to do so, which Enma didn't. But she also didn't kill anyone, so no harm no foul. The Monkey King and the former Hokage disagreed. Well, Enma did. Hiruzen thought them fighting would be a great way for them to resolve their issues. Naruto saw the logic. As much as he didn't like it, he knew that sometimes you just had to cross fists to hash out your differences and then talk later. Still, Naruto had no interest in it. He'd processed and resolved the hate he had for the old man. Even a lot of the hurt was gone. Nothing could change what Hiruzen did, how he chose his vanity at the expense of Naruto. However, that could be gotten over, and while they'd never be close again, they could coexist. No, the oceanic problem that no bridge could cross was that Hiruzen had a deep and sincere hatred for Orochimaru. She had the same, and Naruto had clearly chosen a side. There was simply no relationship to mend with someone that schemed to get his future wife killed or exiled and hunted. But the old man persisted, and even Bast said Naruto should just do it, so here he was. With his asshole teammates, being accused of elder abuse. You know, that geezer could kick both your asses, Naruto observed as he put on his armor, preparing to enter the arena floor. Shino and Shikamaru shared the briefest of glances before Shino said, You're still about to beat on a grandfather and retiree. Have I mentioned how much I hate you both? That laughter was the only response to his question annoyed him even more. Naruto left the changing area and headed to the battleground, Hiruzen and Enma waiting with Jiraiya. It had only been a day since this was decided and yet, somehow, word had spread and the stadium was full. Once Naruto arrived at Jiraiya's location, he bit his left thumb and slid blood down the summoning tattoo on his arm. Slamming his hand down, Bast appeared in a hunter green and gold trim cloak. "Oh, fight time already?" Bast asked and Naruto nodded. She turned to walk away, confusing her summoner who made his confusion known. "Granny, where are you going?" "To take a seat, obviously," she answered. "It is not obvious. Aren't you going to help me here, since you caused this?" Naruto asked. "Do you need my help, Naruto-chan?" she asked with a quirked brow. "It'd be nice," her summoner responded. Bast rolled her eyes and continued walking. Naruto put his face in his hands trying not to yell in frustration. "I guess all relevant parties are here now," Jiraiya started. "This is a fight between summoners, but all Konoha rules and regulations apply. No killing blows, no maiming. Additional stipulations for you, Naruto, are no Bija Chakra, no Sage Mode, dash. No shadow clones, no wood clones, do the hokey pokey before I turn myself around." "Yes, Jiraiya, I already agreed with this." "And no dust release, smartass," Jiraiya said. Thanks to the location, Jiraiya's voice was picked up and broadcast to all in attendance, and those watching on a special feed within the village. The Gama Sannin saw a brief look of fury pass his godson's face, which confused him. "No one, but you knew I could do that, yet, Jiraiya." "Oh." Jiraiya goofed, "Huh?" "Yup," Naruto said, popping the P at the end. "How much is this going to cost me?" "Why, Godfather, I appreciate you paying for my wedding," Naruto said, sounding entirely too sincere for Jiraiya's taste. "Half," Jiraiya said, both ignoring that much of the village could hear this. "Okay," Naruto said and watched Jiraiya nod in affirmation. "And then, the other half. You're all class, Godfather." "You're a shakedown artist," Jiraiya accused, causing Naruto to laugh for the first time today. Naruto just shrugged and Jiraiya lowered his head. "Ugh, fight," Jiraiya said, moving out the way. Hiruzen speeds through a sequence of hand signs, unleashing an earth-style, earth flow river toward Naruto, assuming he was unprepared. This was proven wrong when Naruto finished his own hand signs, the technique stopping the mud river in its tracks, turning it back to its solid state. "Earth-style, quick hardening," Naruto said. "If an E-rank jutsu I created to keep my sandals clean can stop you, then maybe we should call this off." Hiruzen ignored his grandson and performed another sequence of hand signs, inhaling deeply and exhaling a stream of flames. The fire-style, dragon flame bomb blazed toward Naruto, who had also been preparing his own jutsu. Having inhaled a beat after Hiruzen and unleashed his counter a moment later, the wind-style, backdraft spear was a vacuum manipulation jutsu meant to counter fire techniques specifically. As the flame is deprived of oxygen, it follows Naruto's concentrated wind tunnel back to the original caster. Hiruzen and Enma rolled out of the backlash, neither receiving any burns and continued moving in opposite directions. It was obvious to Naruto what they were attempting, so to stall their tactic, he flowed through more hand signs and targeted Hiruzen. The lava-style, dragon missile bombardment formed from the ground with a dragon's head of lava emerging from it and then spitting dozens of projectiles of burning rock. Not even a mud wall of Hiruzen's level could withstand the impact, and he had to take evasive action. Knowing the old man was distracted, Naruto sped toward Enma. Enma didn't have time to be shocked by Naruto appearing before him. The uppercut to his midsection took all of his attention. The second one was less considered, but no less felt, lifting the chief summons off his feet. To end the indignity, he was grabbed by his tail and thrown toward Hiruzen as if he were nothing but an annoyance. The Monkey King managed to land on his feet after a few rolls to distribute the force of his impact and deftly avoiding any pools of lava left over from Naruto's diversionary tactic. "Are you okay, Enma?" Hiruzen asked, while never taking his eyes off Naruto. "The boy is strong," Enma responded, still reeling from the exchange. Hiruzen provided nothing in return. Many in the crowd were reeling from the pre-fight revelations and the first exchange. Whispers speculating who the honorable son could be getting married to Ward with him being able to use the famed dust release of the Anai and Sandame Suchikage. Ino, ever the gossip, wanted to extract information out of Shikamaru, Shino, and he having joined the rookies in the stands, only to be met with surprise. "You don't know?" Shikamaru asked. He honestly hadn't thought it a secret, but he sometimes forgot Team Kurenai often acted in a separate world. Most people didn't know what the hell they got up to, and they all preferred it that way. Of course I didn't know, Ino said. He hasn't even been back that long. Who snatched him up? You sound almost disappointed, Shika observed. Ino shrugged while saying, I'm not looking to settle down or anything, but we could have had some fun. So, who is it? Probably some basic bitch that doesn't challenge him in any way and swoons at the very sight of Naruto-sama, Tenten interjected. Shino's repressed bout of laughter unnerved everyone, only making them more uncomfortable as he lost complete control. Shikamaru soon gave out and joined his teammate. Even Kurenai let a few go. Well, I don't know if I'd called Orochimaru a basic bitch, but you certainly can, Tenten, Shikamaru said, causing the rookies to pale. Wah. No. The weapons mistress said in disbelief. What's with you nerds getting all the hot chicks? Kiba blurted out in mild frustration. While not stated the best, the other rookie shinobi had to agree. Orochimaru scared the shit out of all of them, but she was a certified snack. Temari and Tayuya were both very attractive, and outside of whatever Sasuke was doing with Sakura, none of them were involved with anyone. Extra inch for every 10 IQ points over 130, Shino said dryly, as if he were delivering a scientific certainty. 202, Shikamaru added. Wait. That can't be true, Kakashi-sensei? Kiba asked. 210, the Hatake said with a nice smile. His team sweat dropped. Back to the arena floor, Naruto decided to go on the offensive. The lava-style, magma river gushed from below the surface, headed straight toward Hiruzen. The Sandaime, remaining remarkably calm for a Yoton technique he'd never seen, flowed through the seals for the water-style, wild water wave. The two jutsu met in the middle, instantaneously reacting to each other, battling to see which would have the lasting impact. The Suiton jutsu won as it rapidly cooled the lava and generated a great deal of steam. Naruto continued with his next attack, forcing Hiruzen to evade as 6 Black as Night Shuriken launched from the form. The lava-style, obsidian Shuriken jutsu was just a diversion. Hiruzen ably dipped, ducked, and dodged the projectiles, but his path led him directly into a thin streak of blue lightning. Naruto's lightning style, piercing Fang hit true, but he was already catching the uppercut coming from underground before he realized he'd dispelled a mud clone. Striking out with a back fist, Naruto dispelled another mud clone. It was now the Uzumaki's turn to evade as one Fuma Shuriken because dozens, the Sandaime's Shadow Shuriken jutsu being deftly utilized on a distracted opponent. Naruto saw what he assumed to be the real Hiruzen's location and swiftly came up with a plan. Instead of moving and falling into a trap, Naruto decided to stand his ground. The crowd collectively gasped as an impromptu forest was grown right before their eyes, for it was one thing to be told he could use the Mokuton, but it was another to witness it. The Fuma Shuriken were stopped by the thick and sturdy trees. Naruto retrieved his own shuriken but did not throw it, instead utilizing his koton to make it into a gunbai. Showing his facility with one-handed signs, Naruto performed the fire style, incinerator bullet and juiced the blistering hot fireball with the wind generated by the swing of the gunbai. Hiruzen created another mud wall, but Naruto would not have the chance to see if it could withstand his combined attack. Enma, again, decided to engage the Uzumaki in taijutsu, likely feeling he'd have an edge in the trees. Beginning with a leg sweep, followed by a roundhouse, Enma was all aggression. He demonstrated what years of experience could net as his attacks wasted no motion nor energy. But he could not break through the defenses of his much younger opponent. If not outright blocked, his attacks were parried or dodged. Even as they moved through the trees, Enma found his attacks negated. Getting frustrated, Enma lashed out with a straight right. Naruto grabbed the attacking arm and brought his leg over it, kicking Enma twice with his forward and backward motion. Naruto then pulled the Monkey King into a shattering left hook that sent the summons hurtling toward the ground. Instead of the hard impact he expected, he was caught by Hiruzen. "I have the high ground, old man. You want to concede?" Naruto asked from his lofty perch. As the crowd watched the mastery-level display of ninjutsu, one attendee was vocally more appreciative than others. "Yeah, Cubby, kick that monkey's ass," Bast yelled, spilling some of her popcorn. Orochimaru and Tsunade laughed at the exuberant summons as she cheered on her summoner. "Enjoying yourself, Bast-sama?" Tsunade asked, knowingly. "Of course. And like I told Naruto-chan's mate, you don't have to bother with that Sama stuff. I'll keep that in mind. What about you, Orochi?" "You could almost say this fight is about you, if you so wished," Tsunade finished with a teasing tone. Orochi rolled her eyes, but said nothing in response, more interested in seeing if Hiruzen could force Naruto to show something new. Tsunade, taking Orochi's silence as a challenge up the ante. Or can you not even envision a competition for your hand? I mean, who could possibly compete? True love is like that, you know. You sound like an idiot, and if Koharu were here, she'd agree with me, Orochi spat. Pfft, she'd side with me. Don't be embarrassed, Orochi-chan. Love is wonderful, right Bast? Sure is. I'm thinking of taking another lover myself. Gave the last one a heart attack. I put it on him so good. That's not unimpressive, Orochi said as even she knew game recognized game. Elsewhere in the stands sat a conflicted Genin. Konohamaru had no idea why his grandfather requested he go to the boss's house, but once there he did not like where things went. He was an exuberant and optimistic boy, but he was also smart. He knew he was one of the things that kept Naruto Ueban from lashing out at his grandfather, and he could also tell he had no interest in this. He hoped his grandfather didn't push Ueban too far, he really just wanted this over. I believe you underestimate me, Hiruzen answered back to Naruto's call to surrender, and Asuma frowned. He understood what his old man wanted, but this was likely several years and 3 schemes too late. But, as was his way, the former Hokage couldn't be reasoned with. Add Enma calling for blood, there was just simply no way he'd seek an alternate solution. Asuma had his share of issues with his father, but he didn't want to see him hurt. He also knew if Naruto got hurt, Kurenai would be leading the calls for blood. The bearded Jounin refused to think about what Orochimaru might do. Reflex, habit, trained response. Whatever one may deem it, Naruto's lungs expanded as they had numerous times before, this time filled with noxious gas until he was ready to unleash his next jutsu. The ninja art, miasma, was as advertised. A thick, heavy fog of poison gas was sprayed down below the trees, toward Hiruzen. Knowing what the color of the chakra gas meant, even if he wasn't used to the specific utilization, Hiruzen performed the earth-style, earth rampart. The mountainous wall was intended to bring Hiruzen to Naruto's level, but the Uzumaki would have none of it. Several of his high-pressure water-style, water lances carved through the rock, destabilizing it. Both Hiruzen and Enma fell toward the fog, disappearing from view. The August shinobi knew to hold his breath, though he assumed the poison gas wasn't lethal, it would still be a detriment. He signaled to Enma, and the summons transformed to his legendary staff form, spinning over to Hiruzen. Catching his longtime partner, Hiruzen started several mighty swings as the gusts cleared the miasma. Now with some breathing room, Hiruzen took in the air and used a Katon Jutsu to burn away the rest of the gas. Hiruzen saw the tri-pronged kunai land beside him. His mind told him to move, but his arms gained a sudden amount of weight and his legs lost their sturdiness. His reflexes slowed, his mind was still fast enough to realize the miasma acted as a contact poison, holding his breath hadn't saved him. Soon, he found himself wrapped in a tree, Naruto emerging out of it. He knew it was a Genjutsu, but Jiraiya stepped in before he could begin to counter it. Having his chakra disrupted a moment later, he saw he was actually wrapped in a tree. He'd just experienced Naruto's ninja art, true tree binding death. The crowd cheered for the combatants, but Hiruzen felt empty. The battle hadn't been fierce enough to resolve things. He felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see Naruto standing behind him. That was a better fight than Jiraiya normally gives me. You've still got some kick, old man, Naruto complimented. More than you might realize. Give me a rematch and I might surprise you, Hiruzen said. I'm sorry, Naruto, for everything, the unspoken meaning. Naruto looked away for a brief moment as if unsure. We'll have to see, old man. No promises, Naruto said. I know, but that's not enough, Naruto expressed subtextually. Hiruzen nodded and Naruto returned to play up his win for the crowd. Hiruzen knew if he wanted any semblance of a relationship with his former grandson, he had to come to a resolution with Orochimaru.